So here we were, scrolling the internet, refreshing r/gaming leaks and rumors, waiting patiently for the supposed Nintendo Switch 2 announcement to drop. Myself and a group of friends were all sitting in a VC together, watching a timer tick down towards the appointed moment, when suddenly, time was up, and there was no Switch 2 announcement. But then... we ended up getting an announcement trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, and I couldn't be any more excited. For years now, I've been fighting in X's corner against our Xenosaga overlords, demanding that X get the due consideration that it rightfully deserved. And today, our efforts have been rewarded. I'm so excited to get into this news with you all today, but before we do, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel to get all the latest updates on the Monolith Soft universe, as it helps me out a ton and allows me to bring my content towards a completely new audience. So with all that out of the way, let's get right into the video. So for anyone who is out of the loop or isn't exactly familiar with Xenoblade X as a whole, here's a quick summary. Xenoblade X was the second Xenoblade game, originally released for the Nintendo Wii U in 2015. It features an external storyline to what we've seen so far, where the inhabitants of Earth have to flee their planet after warring alien races do battle above the surface of the planet. To prevent their total oblivion, the coalition government commissioned Project Exodus, the Earth Life Colonization Project, to flee into the stars, leaving behind their old world, which was subsequently turned to dust. 2 years after these events, the aliens caught up with the White Whale, one of the arks that had fled from Earth, and crash-landed on a mysterious alien planet, now known as Mira. In this story, you take on the role of a Blade with your own custom character and fight alongside Elmer and Lynn as you attempt to recover the Lifehold, whilst doing battle with the hostile alien race known as the Ganglion. That's pretty much the general synopsis of what this game and story entails, but being a Xenoblade game, of course, there's a lot more to it, although I won't be spoiling that for you in this video. Looking at the actual trailer now, I have to say I am thoroughly impressed. Whilst the graphics don't look all that more impressive than what we saw on the Wii U, there is a considerable visual upgrade through the color palette used. Everything feels more vibrant and vivid, which does, in my opinion, make this game look a whole lot better, but it will be interesting to see how it performs on the Nintendo Switch. I made a video a while ago talking about how it'd be a bad idea to just straight up port this game to the Nintendo Switch, and I've been fairly vocal up to this point on how I expected this to drop specifically for the Switch 2 as an exclusive game and title. But I am glad to see that Monolith Soft does seem to be taking some measures to improve the quality of this game on such an outdated console. That said, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, however, as whilst the general art style does look way better, I think the character models have suffered considerably. The customizable protagonist and Lao that we see in the trailer honestly don't look so bad, but Elmer and Lynn need a day off, and it becomes really apparent when you see this side by side. It's too early at present to say if this is just an early rendition of the game or if this is how the game will look, but this almost low-res look to the characters doesn't do them any major favours, especially after what we saw with Monolith's 25th anniversary promotion. This rendition of Elmer, likely building off of the Xenoblade 2 model, looks way better and much cleaner, especially within the Xenoblade 3 engine with its enhanced lighting and sharper visuals, and so I would personally estimate that this may be what we should expect visually from the game on Switch 2 hardware, although we will still need to wait a while before we can confirm this for certain. In fact, around the 50-second mark of the trailer, where our camera circles around the protagonist to display New LA, the recording appears to drop a few frames and lag ever so slightly, possibly being an indication to the actual performance on this game running on Switch hardware. The reality is that these models and other visual downgrades are likely necessary for the Switch hardware to cope with the intense, true open world that Xenoblade X brings, and there may be even more examples of this that we may see as we get closer to the release date, although hopefully the next Xenoblade X definitive trailer will hopefully be shown on updated hardware. In addition to this new trailer, however, there are a few new details and pieces of information for us to unpack. For instance, it's very likely for the first time ever we will have access to an actual events theatre within this game, like the other mainline Xenoblade games, allowing us to view old and previous cutscenes, which as a content creator I am so happy about, and would have made my life a whole lot easier when I originally tried making the Xenoblade trailer video. We can infer this from the fact that across the entire trailer we don't see the party wearing a mishmash of different equipment pieces, which was actually in the original trailers, likely meaning that this function will finally be available. We've also had the reveal via the My Nintendo Store page that global nemesis battles, these community bosses with millions upon millions of HP, will be returning. These are by far the largest piece of online content within Xenoblade X, as you go ham against both Telethia Plume and Yggdrasilith Zero, but this also sets a potential interesting precedent. Before the original release of Xenoblade X, a version of the Zufag boss fight was planned to be a global nemesis boss battle before being scrapped, and there is a very real possibility that new bosses may be introduced for this online mode, possibly bringing this and maybe even some new global nemesis boss fights. That also of course gives Monolith Soft the opportunity to bring back other cut content from the game, which I made a whole video on a while back. Although, once we get a second trailer, I think the answer of how much new content will actually be added should be revealed. Lastly, and of course what everyone is the most interested in, would of course have to be the ending shot with Lao and the Black Knight on the beach, who actually now speaks. There's a lot to unpack here though, so let's break it down piece by piece. First, beginning with this updated scene. It's interesting to note that the whole framing and how this cutscene is presented is completely new and different from what we originally saw on the Wii U version, likely meaning that this whole scene and possibly some others through the game have been redesigned. On top of that, the character on the left, whom was dubbed the Black Knight via the art book, now also has a radically different design. Originally, they appeared to wear this large black cloak, which almost functioned like a cape and hid his identity, but in this updated version, this appears now more like a hoodie and appears much more grounded in Earth or human designs. There's also of course his voice, which has led to large amounts of speculation onto his identity, with one of the more common theories being that this is David Mencken playing Malos once again. Whilst this is a possibility, especially after what Takahashi said in the Ionius Moments art book, I'm hesitant to believe this idea just yet. It does sound kind of similar to Mencken, but according to my close acquaintances who have played these games thoroughly with the Japanese dub, this doesn't sound like Malos' voice actor at all, and it wouldn't make a lot of sense to get someone completely new to voice him in one language and not another. What we can determine is that this is an adult male's voice, sounding relatively young within his mid-20s to 30s, which actually lines up with the original planned protagonist of the game, known as the lone hero. This theory also makes sense with the words he says being
"Fancy seeing you here,"
as if he recognizes Lao, implying that the two have a history or at least know each other. Either way, this is incredibly exciting and it may answer one of the many X questions that have gone unanswered for so long, and may even be the pathway to even more being answered. Considering this game is a definitive edition, I believe that there is a distinct possibility that, like Xenoblade 1's definitive edition, we may receive an extra additional story packaged with this game, and that would possibly extend the story of Xenoblade X that little bit further. I remember playing X for the first time myself after receiving the game and a Wii U for Christmas, and upon reaching the end of the story, I was yearning to know more, and feeling as if this game was incomplete, and now, 10 years later, we may finally receive the closure and the answers we've all been looking for. for so long. So for now, this trailer leaves a lot of unanswered questions, but one of them is likely on people's minds more than others right now. What about Xenosaga? It's too early at the moment to say that there's no hope at all, but the definitive edition of X may end up being the final nail in the coffin. Personally, I did try to manage expectations because, as some other YouTubers may put it,
I don't want X fans to get their hopes up massively about something again, because unlike the last few times there was X-related discussion where I was all on board with it, I am very confident it's going to be nothing this time, and don't want people to get their hopes up.
The shoe may now be on the other foot, but that said, there is actually a way I see both still working. As you may know if you've been following my channel for a while, Xenoblade and Takahashi's writing style like to take a lot of inspiration from Gnosticism, an interesting adaptation of Christianity which was originally used as a way to flush out heretics. With Gnosticism, there is a concept known as the Ogdoad, which implies that there are 7 different realms and one higher plane that is typically referred to as heaven. What we may see is that the Xenoblade X universe, the Klaus Saga universe, and the Xenosaga universe may each make up one of those different realms, allowing the whole universe to still be connected even at a distance. And what's even more interesting is the story associated with the Ogdoad. In simple terms, there are 3 major arcs that take place, the first of which could be considered the events that take place and were set up by Future Redeemed, then followed up afterwards by the Xenoblade X timeline before the final arc would take place, which is literally referred to as Cosmos. That's right, the dream isn't dead yet. Space Jesus may return yet. Of course, there has been no official announcement for anything Xenosaga related as of yet, but I do believe it is only a matter of time, and within the next year or 2, I wouldn't be surprised if a Saga Trilogy remaster or remake were to grace our presences, meaning that the future is still bright and potentially has a lot in store for us. That pretty much sums up all the info I have for today's video. So if you enjoyed and want to stay up to date with all the latest and greatest Xenoblade content, then once again, I'd appreciate it if you'd consider subscribing to the channel, as it helps me out a ton. I've been a little busy recently working on a project which I hope to bring you in the future, but as of now, its completion is still a ways off, so I look forward to giving you more details on that when I can. I thank you all for watching though, and hope to catch you in the next one. This is JB, signing off.